Ready? Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Hashem. I'm the chair of the Committee on Water Land. This is the Committee on Water and Land. It's Tuesday, February 11. It's 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and we're in conference room 411. We're running late on another joint hearing in another room, so when that is finished, the committee will come back and come back to this room. We are currently in recess. Gaveling back in on our Waterland Committee. Today is Tuesday, February 11th. First up, we have HB 85 relating to land conservation. First testifier, we have the LNR in support. Stand on your testimony in support.
I commend.
Next up, we have Hawaii County Council in support. Is Hawaii Realtors. I saw Lindsay. Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anybody on Zoom? Nobody? Okay, what's their name? David on Zoom. David, you there? Okay, we're moving on. Members, any questions on HB 85? Seeing none, we're moving on to the next bill. Next up, we have HB 742 relating to transit-oriented development. First up, we have HHFDC. Dean Minakami, you here? I saw you earlier. Sorry for making you wait.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chairs, members, Dean Minakami, Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation. We note that HHFDC is already prepared an infrastructure master plan for the Iwalei Kapalama area, and we're preparing the final EIS for the infrastructure improvements also. So unless the bill is contemplating either higher density development or development outside of our study area, it may be duplicative.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we are on a very short agenda, so if you can stand on your written testimony would be helpful. Next up, we have Office of Planning with comments. Okay, UH in support, not here. Holomua Collaborative in person. Josh? I should have just said your name. It's easier.
No worries. Thanks, Chair. I'll be brief, and I'll largely stand on our testimony. I just want to note that we have seen the comments from HCDA and HHFDC. I just want to note that from what we can tell, what they're currently doing with their EIS is mostly for the horizontal infrastructure, not necessarily as much for the vertical build.
Okay.
And as Dean had also mentioned, if they were looking for a denser build, they would be able to look at that, and the bill does call for a maximum, like an EIS to what a maximum build would look like to take advantage of the TOD corridor. So I would just say, I would urge the committee to keep this alive. We'll reach out to HCDA and HHFDC and talk with them. If when we look at that, we agree that there's no need for the bill, we'll let everybody know that as well. But at the moment, I don't think it's completely duplicative.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, we have Hawaii Appleseed in support. Are you here? Nope. And next, we have HCDA with comments.
Chair Hashem, Vice Chair, members of the committee, I'm Craig Nakamoto, Executive Director of Hawaii Community Development Authority. I'll make my comments really short. You know, I sort of disagree a little bit with the previous testifier. Bottom line is, I don't think this bill is necessary. There's, for the horizontal infrastructure, we're doing the HHFDC has done the EIS for Iwalei Kapalama. I think for if there's vertical developments that are planned for individual parcels, this bill is sort of like a bill telling someone to do what the law already requires. And I think individual landowners, if they're like state, if they're required to do an EIS, you know, they're going to, and there's a trigger, they will do it. So I stand on my testimony that this bill is not really necessary.
All right, thank you very much. That's all the testifiers we have registered. Nobody on Zoom? Nobody has any questions, right? Thank you very much. We're gonna move to HB 85. We're gonna let the Environmental Committee out of here. So we're gonna vote out HB 85 first, and then we're gonna take out of order all the decision-making items at the end of the agenda. We're gonna go straight into decision-making with those. So for HB 85, Chair's recommendation is to pass this out with an HD1. We're gonna zero out the percent and zero out the ceiling, and the effective date to 7/1/30, 7/1/3000, and technical amendments, although there isn't any. Any questions, concerns? If you have any concerns, we still have the year to 3,000 to fix them, so we have a long time to fix it. Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 85, recommendation of the chair is passed with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Bellotti?
Aye.
Representative Ichiyama?
Aye.
Representative Iwamoto?
Aye.
Representative Morikawa?
Aye.
Representative Poi Poi?
Aye.
Representative Woodson is excused. Representative Shimizu? Representative Souza?
Aye.
Your recommendation is adopted, Chair.
Okay,
And
oh,
Committee
yes.
on Energy and Environmental Protection, same recommendation. Vice Chair.
On House Bill 85, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye, and noting the absence of Representative Ward, Representative Kahaloa.
Aye.
Representative Kush.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan is excused. Chair, your recommendation has been adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, we have HB 800 relating to government. The chair's recommendation is to pass this out with a HD1. We're just going to defect the date. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Oh, 800, HB 800, sorry. Light.
All right, members, we are voting on HB 800, recommendation of. Okay, recommendation of the chair is
Yes, amendments.
passing with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. And noting the excused absence of Representative Woodson. And then any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations?
Reservations.
Reservations for
Reservations.
Representative Bellotti and Representative Souza. Anyone else voting with reservations? All other members vote aye, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. I don't think we have the voting sheets. We're going to recess really quick. Oh, the next one's. Okay. Okay, gaveling back in. Now we're voting on HB 1138 relating to ocean user safety. This one, we're going to extend one issue. How do I explain this? So we're going to extend HRS 91-3B to 1 year. Currently, it's 3 months. It came out in testimony, why recreate the whole system when there's already a system in place? And DLNR, it says 3 months is too short. So we're going to try, I'm going to try a novel change to the bill. We're going to extend out the current system from 3 months to 1 year. This goes to judiciary so they could vet it there and see how it goes. And I'm gonna defect the date to 7/1/3000. So we have another 1,000 years to figure this out. And that's it, and tech amendments. Any reservations or concerns?
Yes, I'll be voting with reservations, Chair.
Okay. You're not confident we can figure this out in 1,000 years? Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be voting with reservations also.
Thank you. Okay, that's it, 2 reservations. Vice Chair for the vote.
We're voting on HB 1338, recommendation of the chairs to pass with amendments, noting the excused absence of Representative Woodson. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? Sorry, reservations for Representative Iwamoto and Shimizu. Anyone else voting with reservations? Seeing none, Chair, all other members vote aye. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, so, and for HB 114, or 144, I defer to the Vice Chair.
So for this measure, we are going to defer it indefinitely. Thank you so much, members, for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, going back to our regular agenda. First up, we are on, which bill are we on now? HB 969. That's correct, right? Yes, I did that one. Okay. Next, okay, first up, sorry. Okay. Next, we have HB 969. First up, we have Department of Health with comments.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. Glenn High with Department of Health. Department stands on its written testimony, providing comments, and I'm available to answer any questions. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, we have Board of Water Supply with, in support.
Ernie Lau, Manager for the Board of Water Supply, and strong support. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, we have City and County of Honolulu with comments.
Morning, Representatives. Roger Babcock, Department of Environmental Services. We submitted written comments, and in addition, I'd just like to note that we do own and operate the only municipal solid waste landfill on the island, and we do need to have a new landfill. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm
thank
available
you.
for questions.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Local 1260, IB Kika. Are you here? I don't see him. Next up, we have Hawaii Farm Bureau in support. Not here. And is there anybody else wishing to testify that is in person? Okay, go ahead. Stand up and state your name, please.
Just summarizing my testimony, we oppose landfills above the aquifer anywhere, not just this proposal, because it will leak eventually. We had a town hall on this, 250 angry people showed up. And when we asked the city officials what they would do after the landfill reaches capacity in 50 years, they said they would do another one. So we would have multiple leaks into the aquifer. And Waihawa has heavy rainfall, so there would be periodic flooding. We also have a responsibility to suggest an alternative. We suggest Kalailoa. It was disqualified as a site because of a lightly used airport, but airports are not among the disqualifiers in the original legislation. So we ask that Kalailoa be listed as a possible site. And remember, when this leaks after we're gone, what will future generations say about us?
Okay, thank you, Larry. Next up, we have one person on Zoom. That is Mike. Mike, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Excellent. So aloha, thank you for having me here. My name is Mike Ewald with Energy Justice Network. There's a lot of concern about a new landfill in Wahiawa for good reason. And the concern is because people know that even a double-lined landfill full of H-power trash incinerators ash can eventually leak toxic chemicals into the aquifer. If that's a concern, I would think you would be even more concerned about taking the same material and spreading it all over the island with no liners and driving all over it if they recycle this into roads, which is being proposed right now by the city and county with a proposal to the state for a permit to do that. This would create linear, unlined landfills in the form of roads everyone drives over, risking the workers who put the roads down and everyone who lives near it. Now, there was a project that Roger Babcock presented to the legislature on January 7th, and he held up a jar of this ash from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, saying it's just like sand, and the city is pursuing that as a model of what they want to build. Yet he did not point out that that project failed in that they stopped managing to put that ash into asphalt in September 2022 and never restarted in 2023 as they planned. They didn't say why it failed or what happened, but similar projects have failed around the country. I would encourage you to support the amendment that's in my testimony, supported by 3 others in testimonies as well. You can find it on page 15 of your testimony packet. And that amendment asks that if this ash is not safe to put in a double-line landfill, that we do not also allow it to be used to build roads and spread all over the island with no liners for those roads. So thank you for considering this amendment. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, Mike. That is all the people that we have registered to testify. Can you please stand up and state your name?
Sorry, Wayne Tanaka, Circle Bahoy. We submitted written testimony, but I'll just stand on my testimony in strong support of this bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, we have your testimony.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody wishing to ask questions? Oh, yes, you would like to testify? Sure.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Deborah King, and I did submit written testimony. And I have been advocating with others for no landfills over water because I actually have health conditions brought on by contaminated water. When I was stationed as a dependent with the United States government in Italy, and the water pipes were too close to the sewage pipes, and they leached. And so that was in 2004, and I'm still suffering, and the doctors can't help me or get me any help because they always say that it's something else, like allergies or other things. And now I'm prone to accidents, and my immune system can't heal me as quickly. I just pivoted my foot the other day, and now I have a sprained foot and ankle. So I just hope you really consider no landfills near clean water. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We have your testimony, Deborah. Anybody else wishing to testify? Seeing none. Members, are there any questions?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is for Mr. WAL. You mentioned putting ash into roads. Are you seeking an amendment to HB 969 HD1?
Yes, I would suggest that the language be amended in, which is what the Water and Land Committee did to a similar bill just yesterday in the Senate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to testify? Seeing none, we are moving on. Next, not testify, to ask questions. Seeing none, we are moving on. Next up, we have HB 798. First up, we have HHFDC in support. Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Department of Health in support. Okay, thank you very much. We have County of Maui in support. And that's all the testimony that we received on this bill. Are there anybody else wishing to testify? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Representative Bellotti.
For Department of Health.
Good morning. I'm Darryl Lum. I'm the program manager at the Clean Water Branch.
Is there a certain number of gallons per day that you would say that they should not be exempt according to the statute?
No. So the Department of Health does not have any position on the treatment capacity. And if the committee decides that if you wanted to remove that provision, we would be fine with that.
Well, I'm looking at it another direction. I mean, do you have any recommendations for health and human safety so that we should have a certain threshold?
No, there's actually a portion of the statute that's above 342D 50.5. It's in 342D 50A that already has a general prohibition on all discharges. So that other statute is the portion that we use on all of our enforcement actions.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, Representative Shimizu.
Thank you, Chair. Question for Department of Health. Can you explain to me what is the difference of changing the word wastewater, treated sewage to wastewater?
In our testimony, in our testimony before HD1, we had recommended using treated sewage. It was an attempt to try to address the same issue. By using in our offered amendment where we recommended using the term treatment plant, we think that that is going to address the issues of using the term wastewater, where wastewater is broader and it includes all liquid waste. So what we're attempting to do in our offered amendment is to have the prohibition apply to only treatment plants and to have the exclusion apply to treatment plants.
Follow-up question, Chair?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. My question is, as far as evaluating this discharge water, why wouldn't we rely on like a bacterial reading level that would determine cleanliness versus a rate of discharge gallons per day?
I believe that that rate of discharge, the treatment capacity, I believe that was added to address the situation regarding the clean energy that was that's in the existing statute. So the Department of Health did not propose that that treatment capacity. When we do have these wastewater discharges or sewage discharges, we issue NPDES permits, the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits. And these permits are federal permits that regulate the type of discharges. And there's all different types of limitations that are in the permit. There is bacteria types of limitations also. And the permits have to ensure that the state's water quality standards are being implemented also.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is there is a bacterial measurement that is a limit that has to be required.
Yes,
okay.
correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Representative Iwamoto.
So, thank you. So the standard is don't dump raw sewage into our state waters. This bill will seek an exemption to that to say if you can dump some raw sewage into our state waters, but only if it's below how many gallons?
No, so the Water Pollution Control Statutes does not allow any water pollutants to be discharged by anyone except in compliance with this Chapter 342D and any permits or variances issued by the Director of Health. This particular part of the statute, the 342D 50.5, is kind of a carve-out of that overall prohibition. So it's not allowing people to discharge pollutants. People still have to follow the law. If they're discharging directly to state waters, then they still have to get the NPDES permits from the Director of Health.
Okay, so I'm reading this like it's a carve-out and specifically for I don't know, it feels like we're going in the wrong direction. But you're saying this isn't going to contribute to, because we're also hearing a lot of bills on cesspools and stopping the leakage of raw sewage into our state waters. And then I feel like this is giving exemption.
No, it won't. There's another portion of the statute that's actually right on the top of this, right before this part of the statute. That's basically prohibits all the discharges unless it's in compliance with all of the rules
I
and
know, and it
laws.
says here, I'm reading it verbatim, it says, provided that this section, so, the language prohibiting, say, shall not dump raw sewage, and then it says, provided that this section shall not apply. So the prohibition of dumping raw sewage into state waters shall not apply to a treatment plant that has a treatment capacity of less than blank gallons per day. Do you see how it sounds to me like an exception to the rule? The rule is don't dump raw sewage. And this sounds like, oh, but you can if it's only coming from a treatment plant that is dumping X amount of gallons per day.
Yeah, so I can kind of see how you're reading that part of the statute, but the 342D provisions does not allow people to do that. There's a section 342D 50A that actually prevents all of that from happening.
We're on a tight, aggressive schedule here today.
Understood.
But go ahead, Dolores.
I think the language that Rep. Yamamoto is pointing to is notwithstanding any other law to the contrary. That is the language in there that allows for the carve-out and allows for dumping of raw sewage, basically.
So
the Department of Health's position is that that's going to be okay.
yes, so in 342D 50A, it's saying that no person can discharge raw sewage after that December 2026 date, with the exception of treatment plants. And there's the exclusions for the treatment plants. What in our written testimony, what we are mentioning is that because the term wastewater is being utilized, that will bring in additional types of discharges. So that so things like the power generating stations, your aquariums, those types of facilities have discharges of wastewater that have NPDES permits from us. And the way this statute is written, the only exclusion is for treatment plants, and these facilities are not treatment plants. So what that statute would basically do is prohibit those types of facilities after that 2026 date. So it's not allowing people to discharge pollution.
Okay, thank you. I think we're talking past each other, but this might hopefully go to JHA, so we can take it up there. And if not, then.
Thank you very much. Oh, quick question. So you're saying to put in treatment plant on page 1, line 5, right?
Correct. So,
And do you have a capacity less than number in there?
no, we do not.
Okay, so shall we leave that blank for now?
We have no opinion on whether to put a number or to delete that
Okay.
portion. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Sure.
Department of Health. I'm trying to wrap my brain around some of the questioning here, and if this bill doesn't pass, how does that affect you?
If this does not pass, then treatment plants after 2026 are going to have to utilize sewage to produce clean energy. And because of the way it's written, there's very limited options of how that can be done. Because we're not the ones that kind of created this statute, we're not exactly sure what would be involved with that. So we're thinking that maybe biosolids could be treated using anaerobic digestion, and then as it produces the biogas, you can burn the methane. But that is a very expensive process. We're thinking that people can bring the sludge to H-Power and produce electricity. But other than that, there's very limited options that's available.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. We're moving on. Next up, we have HB 879 relating to cesspool conversions. First up, we have DHHL in support. Next, we have Department of Health in support. Okay, next we have Hawaii Reef Ocean Coalition in support. Thank you for standing on your written testimony and support. We're on an aggressive schedule. Realtors, Lindsay, thank you very much. Next, we have WAY in support. Thank you, Stuart. I appreciate that. And I think that's all the people that we have registered to testify. We also have 3 individuals in support. Nobody on Zoom. Anybody else wishing to testify? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Seeing none, we're moving on. Next up, we have HB 735 relating to wastewater. First up, we have Department of Health with comments. Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Office of the County Clerk, County of Kauai in support. Not on Zoom. Okay, next we have Joel Guy, Hanalei Initiative in support. Are you here? No? Anybody on Zoom? Nobody on Zoom? Anybody? That's all the people that we have registered to testify. We also have a few other members or individuals and institutions that are in support. Is there anybody wishing to testify in this measure? Seeing none, members, are there any questions?
Yeah, is there any departments or government agencies here testifying in support of this bill that I can ask a question to?
Department of Health.
Okay, great, thanks. Given that there's a finite amount of I'm sorry, I got mixed up with the first one, but on this one, if you have the finances to build another dwelling, shouldn't you have the finances to install a septic tank? Because that's the alternative, right? It's cesspool or septic tank.
So I'm John Nagato from the Department of Health. There's more options. I mean, if we're talking about waste treatment, sewer
Right.
connection, there's other types of individual wastewater system technologies beyond cesspools.
Because it's basically allowing to build more additional dwellings and to feed the cesspool, which is the open leaking.
No, so cesspools are off of this, they took off of this House Draft 1.
Oh, okay.
The original one, I think it did have some language about priority level 3 cesspools. They
okay.
took that out. So
Okay.
we're just talking about individual wastewater systems. The argument is we have rules in our administrative rules that limits dwellings to 2 dwellings or less on an individual wastewater system. 3 or more, where we don't allow that. So that's what this bill is trying to do, trying to allow us or require the department to allow more than 2 dwellings per individual wastewater system.
On a contained sewage system, on a sewage system that doesn't leak into the
Oh,
environment.
there's no, it has nothing to do with
Okay,
spilling
thank you so
anything.
much,
Yep.
Chair, for letting me understand this.
That's your up there. Is that the reason for your testimony or your changes in here?
Yes, I mean, it's a topic that comes up a lot, and we're trying to find it because it's been in our rules for a very long time. It's probably based in older science, but we never quantified it. I mean, we being the department. There is something to economies of scale when you go from 1 dwelling, same amount of people, same flow, and you go to multiple 1-bedroom dwellings. There's something there, but we never quantified that. So we're trying to find that answer. But until then, if we're forced to allow 3 or more dwellings per 1 individual wastewater system, then we'll be required to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Department of Health, please. I guess kind of related to Rep. Iwamoto's earlier comments, it doesn't make sense because we're expanding the capacity of cesspool, and yet in HB 879 and HB 1404, we're trying to correct that cesspool problem and eliminate that. So How does the Department of Health justify that kind of like contradiction?
I mean, I can't remember verbatim, but I know for cesspool conversions, we're trying whatever we can to push for converting off of your cesspool to an individual wastewater system or the sewer.
Correct. So in your statement, you're trying to convert, but in this bill, you're allowing the existing cesspool to expand its capacity?
No.
Is that how I'm
No.
understanding it?
So when you're on an existing cesspool, we're completely in support of converting your cesspool to an individual wastewater system, which is a septic tank or an aerobic tank or a sewer lateral. Actually, if you have an existing cesspool and you are on multiple dwellings, we basically grandfather that in, because we'd rather have you on an individual wastewater system, even if it's against our rules, than on a cesspool. We just use the variance process for that. But for a development where they want 1 or 2 dwellings, will allow you to put in an individual wastewater system. If you want 3 or 4 or 5 dwellings on your property and you want to only put in 1 individual wastewater system, we won't allow that. So we're only talking about mostly properties that don't have existing cesspools.
Okay, can we move on? Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Next up, we have HB 511 relating to public lands. First up, we have DLNR with in support. Thank you, Russell Tsuji. Next, we have Hawaii Cattlemen's Council in support. Are you on Zoom? Nope. Next, we have, do we have anybody else on Zoom? Seeing none, okay. Is there anybody else in this room wishing to testify on this bill? Okay, thank you very much. DOA. Anybody else wishing to testify? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Okay, Representative Shimizu.
Thank you, Chair. Forgive me for the questions to educate myself. I guess this would be for DLNR. Are they here? The question is, I'm sorry, I don't understand the purpose of this bill, and what are we trying to accomplish here?
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for the question. Kevin Moore, DLNR Land Division. So I think this bill comes from the drive to complete the Act 90 transfers, which is transferring agricultural land from DLNR to DOA. And one of the things that slows down that process is some of the lands to be transferred are not surveyed. There's no map and meets and bounds description. And instead of going through the delay and expense of getting it surveyed so that that survey can be attached to an executive order completing the transfer, this bill would allow us to bypass the mapping requirement, maybe just attach a tax map that describes the parcel generally and speed up the process.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Vice Chair?
I just have a follow-up for the land division. I just wanted to know, what is the current cost for a land survey?
What does it cost? It really depends on the parcel size.
Okay, per acre.
Yeah, I don't know if you can break it down per acre, but they can be expensive, in the tens of thousands for a large parcel.
Okay. Tens of thousands. Okay. So, for land size, you can't break it out. Like, if I give you, like, what has been the average cost so far that you folks have spent?
So I don't know if the Department of Agriculture could speak to that, but we don't normally handle the survey part. The applicants come to us with the surveys completed.
DOA, if you have an answer to that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. This is to save the state money from transferring from one state, or transferring it within ourselves, right? From one department to another, but the law states we have to do a survey, so. Kind of does, well, I think, anyways. Moving on. Next up, we have HB 738 relating to historic preservation. First up, We have HHFDC in support. Next, we have DLNR, SHIFT in support. Okay, thank you. Next, we have OHA with comments. Not here. Next, we have Josh in support. Next, we have Grassroots Initiative Hawaii in support. Not here. Is there anybody else wishing to testify in person on this bill? Or- Okay, thank you. HCDA, sorry. Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to testify? Go ahead.
Department of Planning and Permitting, we stand on our testimony with concerns.
Okay. Yes, I got. Okay, is there anybody else wishing to testify? See none, there's nobody on Zoom. Members, are there any questions?
Quick question.
Representative Bellotti?
For Department of Planning, what is the areas in City and County of Honolulu that would be subject to this law?
Michael Catt for DPP. It would be our TOD zones.
And what are those zones?
Generally speaking, the areas along the rail.
Okay, all throughout? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, any other questions? Representative Iwamoto?
I think this, I'm not sure if this is for SHIFT or the department, but it's regarding OHA's concerns that without additional resources to facilitate compliance, that there will be an automatic approval. Is that within your realms? Because I know you guys have come to us, to this committee, for exemptions so that you guys can fill vacancies. So if you're not getting adequately funded, I feel like there becomes an incentive for the legislature to not adequately fund you so that permits just go rushing through because we're not meeting the deadline.
Yeah, I think that SHIFT recognizes OHA's concerns. There is a 90-day, or there's a defined period in time in which SHIFT is required to complete a review within the current state rules, but it hasn't been clearly defined as to what happens if SHIFT doesn't complete the review of that project in time. And so I think that the purpose of this bill is to clarify that if we don't review the project in time and the project is submitted completely and the information that is submitted is accurate, that the project proponent can move on within the stipulated, as specified in the bill, how it's stipulated in the bill. So I think that we recognize OHA's concerns, but I don't think that the allowance for a project to proceed is outside of what already exists in the rules. It just clarifies that process in the actual 6E regulation rather than in HAR. So yes, I agree with you. And at the same time, I think part of this bill, though, is saying that they will submit information that's real and accurate and complete, and that is the trigger for the start of the review period. And once we get a real and true and complete application, SHIFT is able to process it very quickly. Our biggest concern right now is getting those complete applications, because most of what we receive is incomplete or inaccurate.
Okay, so you do have capacity.
We do have capacity when we have complete submittals, yes.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Absolutely.
Very good. Okay, moving on. Next up, we have HB 830 relating to SHIFT again. Wait, hold on. Okay. DLNR, Historic Preservation.
We stand on our the comments that we provided.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Maui Chamber of Commerce with comments. We have Historic Hawaii Foundation in opposition, Hawaii Realtors in support. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this bill? Okay, good job. Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody on Zoom? Seeing none? Members, that's all the people that we have registered to testify. Members, are there any questions? Go ahead,
I'm sorry,
Representative
is
Iwamoto.
Historic Hawaii Foundation here? No, sorry.
I don't think so. They're not even on Zoom. That's it. Want to ask Shipti?
Sure, I'll Shipti, thanks. So, Historic Hawaii Foundation, I imagine you work with them quite a bit. They're in opposition to this HD1. Have you read their testimony?
I haven't read the testimony on HD1 yet. I would expect that their concerns would echo some of our concerns in terms of the amount of staff hours that would be dedicated, SHPD staff hours that would be dedicated to potentially managing or having to find a qualified consultant to do this third-party review, and whether or not the amount of time and effort that an SHPD staff person would take to do that kind of contract management would be best served actually reviewing projects. I think that there is question about whether or not there's enough qualified consultants and how that management of a contract would be. That's what I expect that they might be saying, but we would echo those concerns.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, we are moving on. Next up, we have, hold on. HB 1008, relating to historic preservation reviews of state affordable housing project. First up, we have Jessica Puff, Shipti.
Shipti stands on our testimony in support.
Okay, next we have HHFDC in support. Okay, thank you very much. Next we have, is that all the people that we have? No, we have NIOP in support. Next we have Hawaii Realtors in support. Okay, very good. Nobody else, nobody on Zoom. That is all the people that we have registered to testify. Is there anybody else wishing to testify? Seeing none, members, are there any questions?
Again, for SHPD?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. So OHA indicated that they're willing to work with SHPD on HRS Section 6E, which is a statute that I'm very concerned about. Is there room within this current HD1 draft to allow you guys to work together to resolve their concerns?
I believe so. I think that, yes, I believe so. I think that we can work it out with them. Hold on, that's the wrong bell.
How do we get around the lack of historic preservation professionals?
Hold on, I have to.
It's another.
That's the previous bill.
It's another exemption of that.
Yeah. I think that this bill, I believe, states that it proposes, this is the state affordable housing bill, right? And it essentially would allow for either the county, I believe, or SHPD, like the project to be forwarded after a 90-day review by the county if it met the requirements of having either the county review it for its impact to historic properties or the state. I think a previous iteration of this bill, SHPD had concerns that the permit would just be released without taking into consideration that permit being reviewed by SHPD for the project's potential to impact historic properties, or more importantly, EV Kapuna, and then making sure that we had enough time to appropriately consult with any descendants or the burial council or whoever is appropriate on the impact of that project to known burial sites, or have protective measures in place like archaeological monitoring or cultural monitoring to look out for EV during construction, that sort of thing. I think that this iteration of the bill, has provisions in it that allow for SHPD or the county to determine, to not start that review period until after SHPD or the county makes a historic preservation review. So I think with the language that's there currently, we're okay with it, but we can work with OHA on any outstanding concerns they have to.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, we are moving on. Next up, we have HB 734 relating to water systems. First up, we have Department of Health in support. Thank you. Next up, we have Department of Hawaiian Homelands in support. Okay, thank you. Next up, we have Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition in.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Ted Boland for Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition. Updating cesspools is very expensive. This bill is about trying to find ways to make it less expensive for homeowners and governments. I worked on the rules 10 years ago. I will tell you, I think it's time for an update. There have been some changes in the way people do these projects, and maybe we can save some money. So I hope you'll pass this bill. The Senate has not, so I would like you to move this bill forward, try to save people some money. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Nature Conservancy in support. Okay, next we have WAI in support. Stuart?
Yes, I will stand on its testimony and repeat what
Okay,
Ted said.
thank you very much. Put it in your testimony. What do we say? Put it in the journal, right? Written comments, same answer. Okay, never mind. Next up, we have Environmental Caucus of Hawaii. I don't see them here in support, and we have 3 individuals in support. Nobody in opposition. Is there anybody else wishing to testify? Anybody wishing to testify in opposition? Seeing none. Members, are there any questions? It's kind of straightforward. Seeing none, we're moving on. Next up, we have HB 379 relating to the environment. Wow, that's a very broad title. Hopefully it doesn't get hijacked. Okay, first up, we have DLNR in support.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, committee members. My name's Ellie. I'm representing DLNR through the Division of Aquatic Resources. We stand on our testimony provided in support of this bill. We would also like to ask the legislature to work with the Department of Health to ensure that they have the tools necessary to implement the proposed actions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Department of Health. I saw you, right? Okay, next we have Kauai Council in support. Next, we have anybody, Hawaii Reef Ocean Coalition in support.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Ted Boland for Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition. This one is about protecting coral reefs, basically. There are places where there's not enough soil to prevent quick runoff, like recently lava flows in the last 5,000 to 10,000 years. So there are places where the stuff just runs right off, and we need to do something to have denitrification, because the nitrogen in the wastewater is terrible for the reefs. So we need some kind of controls, and this bill would help provide it. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm available for questions.
Okay, next we have Hawaii Realtors with comments. Okay, next we have Stewart in support.
Hi, Chair, committee member Stuart Coleman from VI. Stand on a written testimony, but just add to illustrate what Ted was saying about the threat to coral reefs. We have areas across the state, like in Puako, where our reefs are completely degraded. They've gone from 70% coverage, reef coverage, to 7%. Maalaea, 80% to about 7% as well. So it's a very serious issue. This is not only, they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars to the state in revenues each year, so we need to protect them. Mahalo.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ted, would you like to take Stewart's words and make them as yours? Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anybody on Zoom? Okay, we have one person on Zoom. Heather? Go ahead.
Aloha, Chair and Vice Chair, members of the Water and Land Committee. I'll stand on my written testimony, but I just wanted to request that the committee considering moving this bill forward so that we continue to have the opportunity to work with DOH regarding their very valid concerns about how they'll make determinations about the parameters that are proposed in this legislation. Unfortunately, between the last hearing on this bill and now, there was a conference and we were not able to connect to kind of work out some of those details, but I'm optimistic that we can establish clear parameters and clear methods for DOH to identify these areas. I did also want to make sure that all committee members had the opportunity to see the 2023 nature study that I emailed out yesterday, which is the foundational basis of this legislation, as well as the Department of Health 2014 study, which is the source of some of the parameters provided. So happy to answer any questions about the legislation, something I've been actively working on for a couple of years now, but we do feel we can work with DOH to address the concerns provided in their testimony for today's hearings. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all the members that we have registered to testify. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Go ahead, stand up, please. Okay, thank you very much. We have you registered for Zoom. Okay, no, good. Thank you for being here. Anybody else wishing to testify? Seeing none. Members, are there any questions? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure who this question is addressed to. The question is, who is an individual wastewater system? Because this bill applies to newly installed or modified individual wastewater systems.
Hi, John Nagato, Department of Health. Individual wastewater system is defined in the Department of Health's administrative rules. It's anything that's not a treatment plant, 1,000 gallons per day or less wastewater. So septic tanks, aerobic treatment units.
So that would cover like individual homeowners too?
Yes, that's usually what it's for. If you're not on sewer, then you're allowed to use an individual wastewater system.
So this denitrification process is already in place?
Yeah, currently, we already do require denitrification technology for individual wastewater systems whose disposal system is within 50 feet of a shoreline or a body of water. And then when it's less than 3 feet vertically from groundwater, we require denitrification plus UV disinfection.
So this is a widely implemented
We've been requiring
already.
this already. It's just for denitrification, they're expanding the geographical region of it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Good questions. Any other questions? Seeing none, we are moving on. Next up, we have HB 1495 relating to Keauhou Aquifer System. Just a minute here. I got to get through all these. Oh, I don't have the testifier list for this. Okay, first up, we have DLNR. In support? Thank you.
Good morning. We're going to stand on our written testimony in support of this bill.
Okay, next we have HHFDC in support. Okay, next we have Department of Water Supply, Hawaii County in support. Is there anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? 2 people on Zoom? Okay, is it Kona Kohala Chamber of Commerce, Wendy, in support on Zoom?
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Committee on Water and Land. My name is Wendy Laros. I'm the President and CEO of the Kona Kohala Chamber of Commerce, which is located on the west side of Hawaii Island. With over 460 members and organizations, our chamber strongly supports House Bill 1495 relating to the Keauhou Aquifer System. Since our establishment in 1968, we've worked to enhance the quality of life for our community through a strong, sustainable economy on Hawaii Island. Water development is a top priority for the Chamber and our entire region. We strongly support developing, maintaining, and protecting freshwater resources in West Hawaii. New freshwater development on the west side of Hawaii Island will provide critical infrastructure to support housing, another top priority for our members and the entire community. House Bill 1495 establishes the Keauhou Aquifer System Monitoring Pilot Program within the Department of Land and Natural Resources and Commission on Water Resource Management. We are confident the steps outlined in this pilot program will provide progress on this long-standing issue. Ultimately, developing new freshwater resources will strengthen our local economy and promote the well-being of our entire community. We ask you to pass House Bill 1495 relating to the Keauhou Aquifer System. Mahalo for this opportunity to testify.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Lawrence Sombarbier. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. In support on Zoom.
Quite okay, yes. Nelha stands on our written testimony and support, and it's Sombardier. Thank you for the opportunity.
I'm sorry.
Quite okay.
Thank you very much. That's all the people that we have registered to testify. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none. Members, are there any questions? Seeing none, we will recess. If members, you have any comments or if you have any concerns, feel free to vote your conscience on this one. Okay, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 969 HD1, recommendation of the chair is to pass as is, noting the excused absence of Representative Ichiyama, who will be excused for the remainder of the agenda. Anyone voting no? I'm sorry, and also noting the presence of Representative Woodson. Oh, Representative Ichiyama is now present. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? All members vote aye, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, we have HB 798. Chair's recommendation is to take the Department of Health's amendments on the bill. It's already defective and basically changing, where is it? To wastewater treatment plant instead of individuals. No person or including public body. Okay? Any questions or concerns? Go ahead.
Chair, I'll be voting no on this one.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Chair.
Chair, I have concerns and I will be voting no also.
Okay,
I'll be voting with reservations.
okay, thank you.
Reservations, thanks.
Okay, wow. Good. I didn't think it was. Any other comments or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
All right, voting on HB 798, recommendation of the chair is to pass
With amendments?
with amendments.
Department of Health with amendments.
And noting the presence of everyone in the committee, great. Anyone voting, I'm sorry, and also noting the noes from Representative Iwamoto and also Shimizu. Anyone else voting no? And also noting the reservations from Representative Bellotti and Souza. Anyone else voting with reservations? Seeing none, all other members vote aye, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, next up, we have HB 879 relating to cesspool conversions. The chair's recommendation is to pass this as is. Vice Chair for the vote.
Oh, discussion?
Okay, go ahead.
May I? I don't know if the chair would be open to prescribing a low-income qualification on this one? Because is it random? Is it just like when the funds run out? Or is it just for people who can show that they are low income? For instance, they inherited the property from many generations ago and they just don't have money, compared to a new landowner who just moved into the community, paid a lot of money for this property, and now they're going to tap into state funds.
Yeah,
Do you know
that's
what
a
I mean?
very good yes, and I would completely agree with you. The problem is we need to get prior concurrence. So it's going to finance, and yeah.
Prior concurrence, what is that? I'm sorry.
I gotta get the permission of. Oh, yes, good job. Thank you very much for the Waterland Chair Emeritus.
And then, also perhaps including in the committee report is to, I don't know, is there any way if we do front the money, if the state fronts the money and it's up to 60,000, I don't know how much this costs, but.
Put a lien on the property.
Yes.
Make it a loan.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And that's appropriate for the Finance Committee to look into it too.
Okay.
Good, we'll put that in the committee report. Good catch, thank you very much. Good. Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 87879, so sorry, HB 879 HD1. Recommendation of the chair is to pass as is. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? All members vote aye, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have HB 735 HD1 relating to wastewater. It already has a defective date. The chair's recommendation is to take the Department of Health's changes. And that's it. Any comments or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 735, recommendation of the chair is to just pass as is.
Oh,
Sorry, with
HD1.
H,
Or is it an HD2?
HD2.
HD2.
Sorry, pass with amendments. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? All members vote aye, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have HB 511 relating to public lands. The chair's recommendation is to pass this out with an HD1, just defecting the date. Do I get prior concurrence from the author of the bill? Okay, she says I can defect the date. So, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 511, recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? All members vote aye. Sorry.
Wait, I'm sorry, 511?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm good.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All members vote aye, chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have HB 738 relating to historic preservation. Chair's recommendation is to pass this with an HD1, taking DLNR's amendments.
I think you mean a HD2.
Oh, wait, sorry, with an HD2.
Voting on HB 738 HD1, recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments. Anyone?
Are we going to do the discussion? Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to indicate that I was going to WR based on OHA's concern regarding funding.
Okay, thank you.
Continuing voting on HB 738 HD1, recommendation is to pass with amendments. Anyone voting no? Anyone noting the reservations from Representative Iwamoto? Anyone else voting with reservations? All other members vote aye, chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, we have HB 830 relating to historic preservations. Chair's recommendation is to pass this as is. It already has a defective date.
Voting on HB 830, recommendation of the chair is, sorry, H3, 830 HD1. Recommendation of the chair is to pass as is. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with
No, I'm sorry, and I think I stated my reasons for it earlier, but in case I didn't, due to privatization and also third-party consultant, like shopping for a favorable result. Thanks.
Anyone else voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? Reservations for Representative Shimizu?
Reservations.
Reservations.
Can I
for-
comment,
Go ahead.
Chair? Voting the reservation is due to Historic Hawaii Foundation's concerns.
Reservations for Representative Bellotti and Shimizu. Anyone else voting with reservations? All other members vote aye, chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Next up, we have HB 1008 relating to historic preservation reviews and state affordable housing projects. Chair's recommendation is to pass this with an HD2 to revert back to the original language for moderate sensitive areas. Basically what's in, I think it's DLNR's, DLNR and HHFDC's amendments and their comments. Any questions or concerns?
Chair, I'll be voting with reservations, citing OHA's concerns.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, voting on HB 1008 HD1, recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments. Anyone voting no? Noting the reservations from Representative Iwamoto. Anyone else voting with reservations?
Reservations.
Reservations for Representative Bellotti. Anyone else voting with reservations? Seeing none, all other members vote aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have HB 734 relating to wastewater systems. Chair's recommendation is to pass this as is. The bill contains a blank appropriation and already a defective date. Comments or concerns? Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 734 HD1, recommendation of the chair is to pass as is.
As is.
As is. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? All other all members vote aye, chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, next up, we have HB 379 relating to the environment. I spoke with the Environment EEP chair, and we decided to try within 200 feet from shore and take out all the other language about the watershed that contains like 5,000-year-old soil and above so much other feet. So we're gonna just restrict the bill to only 200 feet from shore. It goes to CPC so they can discuss this there. So we're gonna narrow this focus of this bill. The bill already contains a defect date and tech amendments if needed. Okay? Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 379 HD1, recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations?
With reservations.
With reservations for Representative Iwamoto. Anyone else voting with reservations? All other members vote aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, next up, we have HB 1495, HD1. Chair's recommendation is to pass this unamended, as is. Any concerns or comments? Seeing none?
I have a comment,
Oh, yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
Chair, I just wanted to put in the committee report that the costs for each monitoring well is an upwards of almost $3 million, if that can also be included for finance to consider for each monitoring well.
Yes, please do.
Thank you.
Okay. Good.
Voting on HB 1495 HD1, recommendation of the chair is to pass as is. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? All members vote aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. I think we're done, right?
Yep, we're done.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, members, and thank you for your support.